So I just recently watched this video titled Christian Stoicism, Can You Be a Stoic Catholic? By Father Mike Schmitz, and it really brought back a lot of memories for me. When I first hopped onto the self-improvement hype train, I took a genuine interest in Stoicism, mainly because there were a lot of things that I found to fundamentally agree with. But since then, I've taken a step back from the red pill, and I've only just recently gotten back into Stoicism when I took an intro to philosophy class. And the more I looked into it, the more I found it linked quite well with a lot of Catholic beliefs. So today I want to dig a little bit deeper into any possible connections between Stoicism and Christianity, and just to see if they're actually compatible. So sit tight, grab a snack, and possibly a notebook as well, because there is a lot that I'm about to throw at you in the next few minutes. So first off, what even are the connections? So without spending too much time on each of them, accepting your circumstances, St. Ignatius's idea of holy indifference being somewhat equal to Stoic acceptance, emotional regulation / maturity, virtue being a core ethic, and detachment from earthly things are all great examples of where the two will find common ground. I think Father Mike put it best when he said, so this crossover between Stoicism and Christianity, where as Christians, we have to, of course, accept reality. I might not like the way my heart is broken, but I have to accept that these are the ways my heart is broken if I'm going to ask the Lord into my heart as it is, end quote. Really, the main difference between holy indifference and Stoic acceptance is the fact that Stoics focus more on apathy, so the feeling to want something, whereas holy indifference is based on putting your trust in God. Now, regarding emotional regulation and maturity, the funniest way I can put it is that the Stoics were mostly focused on staying disciplined whenever they got hangry. I totally cannot relate to that at all. However, Christians are called to cultivate calmness rooted in love, not just discipline. I'm sure anyone that knows the basics of Stoicism will have heard of the four cardinal virtues: prudence, temperance, justice, and fortitude. And Christians absolutely follow very similar virtues. However, of course, once again, instead of just for the sake of being disciplined, it's about building that relationship with God. You should be starting to see a pattern at this point. And really the main part where the two differ is the why behind why we believe what we believe. The Stoics do what they do because they think inner resilience can be built up, which is absolutely true to an extent. And this contrasts with the Christian belief of, again, building that relationship with God and letting His will work through us. So in very simple terms, it's really doing something for yourself versus trying to imitate Christ. Additionally, while the typical Stoic calm is definitely helpful, it also needs to be accompanied by a certain love and hope that really only God can give. His grace is our true strength. So whenever human effort alone isn't enough, God will sustain. The Stoic idea of will and strength is definitely a good starting point, but at some point you're going to need God to fill in the spaces that you just can't do on your own. I can definitely remember some of the feedback that my philosophy instructor gave me, and he too agreed that Stoicism and Christianity complement each other in many ways. However, I would go as far as to suggest that Christianity is a form of completion of the Stoic philosophy, and I'm going to ask that you hear me out for just a minute. So the Stoics believed in some form of rational principle that brought order to the universe, which is also called the Logos. They clearly knew that there was some sort of meaning and coherence to all of existence. They just didn't quite have all the puzzle pieces to figure everything out on their own. However, John chapter 1 verse 14 states, "The Word became flesh and dwelt among us." So what the Stoics tried to reach for in abstraction, Christianity brought in a living person. Like I mentioned earlier, the Stoics trying to pursue those four cardinal virtues is absolutely a great thing. However, without Christ being there to affirm those virtues, it's going to be much harder for you to actually live up to them. And I do think this helps to form some kind of universal brotherhood that I think we see a very distorted version of in a lot of red pill spaces today, but it's Christ that actually gives that a genuine purpose. And for the last point, We all need to accept that we're going to have to endure pain in our own ways, but where Stoicism says to just suppress it, Christians say, "Thy will be done," placing our trust in God the Father. I know this was very much put together very haphazardly, but this is pretty much the culmination of a lot of thoughts that I've had over the last year-ish, really. And at the end of the day, I'm just a student still trying to piece everything together. I'm by no means trying to claim to be any kind of authority here, but I do hope that something that I said piques your curiosity. Take what's helpful, leave the rest, and if something here actually did manage to make you think, then great. Please go watch that Father Mike video. I'll leave a link to it in the pinned comment down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all next time. God bless.